Okay, so apparently I've got to admit everybody one by one. So Tony, I've just admitted Tony. So Tony's going in this. And let's keep an eye on that. I didn't used to do that, but it started doing it.
Yeah, I had a few problems getting on, Richard. I've been trying since about 2 minutes to 1.
Yeah, they keep changing
the code and that, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, they keep changing the settings in Zoom, and it's different every time. They've just added a new thing where you've got to go into the waiting room, and then I've got to admit you.
Yeah.
That was never the case before. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. Anyway, we're now through to YouTube. We should be live on YouTube, and it's recording on YouTube. So I'm going to share my screen. And you should be able to see my MT5, and you should be looking at Euro USD. And I just put the way I'm going to see if anybody else gets in, tries to get in. But you put that over there. Okay, so for the benefit of anybody who's watching for the first time, this is my MT5 on Euro USD. I'm on the 1 minute time frame. We have a white line here which indicates that should be the 1 o'clock line. There's a slight difference between the computer time and the broker time, so it's showing us 14:59. That should be showing us 1500. There is a 2-hour difference between my broker and myself, so that's explains the 2 hour. But that's the 1 o'clock indicator, and this green one here is the 1:15 indicator. Now, when I was trading manually, I used to start off on the 15-minute chart, and I'm trying to get that to do the same for us, so that we can get a more accurate setup for the trend line. But what will happen is that the trading assistant will wait until this 15-minute time period has lapsed, and then it will look for the high point, which is currently there. That's the current high point, and it will look back for the nearest higher point. So that from the top of that wick there, looking left, I would imagine that we're looking at that one, possibly that one. And looking at the low as it stands at the minute, the low point is here, and therefore we'll be looking at that, or that list of nearest. So we're trying to get the nearest in the 15 minutes before, so it would actually be that one down there. And then it'll draw the trend lines. We've got a couple of other things on the chart. One thing you need to look for every time you set up the MT5 is you need to have a little blue scholar's hat in the top right-hand corner. If that hat is still white, then it means you're not connected to the MT5, or so you're not connected to the assistant. It's currently saying out of session because it waits until that 15-minute last 1 minute candle is closed, and then it goes to trend lines, and then it'll say looking for a trade. So we're currently out of session, waiting for this first 15 minutes to elapse. The other thing that you can see on my chart is I'm asking the trading assistant to risk 0.5% of my balance on this particular pair. So I'm on $100,000 account, so I'm risking $500 on this particular pair. Now we look at 4 pairs in the afternoon session, so we're effectively risking 4 times 0.5%, which equates to $2,000. So when we get to a $2,000 loss, the trading assistant will stop trading. It will protect my balance. And Now, there's something else I need to explain, and that is that because the training assistant knows that I've got $100,000 account and I'm prepared to risk 0.5% on this pair, it's calculated already that my lot size needs to be 16.67. So it's already programmed to enter on that lot size. And the other thing it'll do is it'll exit once we get to a risk to reward of 1 to 2. So effectively what I'm trying to do is manage my risk to be 0.5%. I'm trying to manage my profits to be 1% on this particular pair. And then we multiply that by 4 because the 4 pairs combined total a total potential loss of $2,000. There's something else I can show you here. This news. We always look at the news in advance, and this is telling me that at 3 o'clock, because remember my broker is 2 hours ahead of me, 3 o'clock, there's red flag news on the US dollar. So I programmed my trading assistant to not get me into a trade from 5 minutes before that news to 5 minutes after that news. Now, as we get closer to this 15-minute chart, I'm going to switch over to my trading view, and I'm going to actually draw the lines and then try and reflect those lines on this chart. We're waiting for Oliver to reprogram this so that it will draw the lines automatically instantly as soon as we get to that 15-minute point. But in the meantime, we're just having to improvise. I suspect that the nearest high point is going to be up here, and the nearest low point is going to be down here. But we'll look at that. If I can, let's get rid of you guys there. And if I go to stock share, I'm just going to do this on the one pair at the minute. No, that's not what I want. I want to get my trading view. The trading view is here. And if I go back, I need to share that. Okay, so you should now be looking at my trading view chart for Euro US. As I mentioned, I'm on the 15-minute time frame, and I've already put a couple of trend lines in place. Now that is the 1 o'clock candle there. So I'm just waiting for that candle to close. In the meantime, I'm just going to show the pairs that we're looking at. We're looking at Euro US, Euro CAD, GBP US, and GBP CAD. Those are the afternoon session pairs. Just going to remove that. So as soon as this candle closes, what's happened there? Right, so that candle is now closed. That's the 1 o'clock candle there. And I'm looking at the top of the candle. There's a slight wick on it. And if I look left, I can see that that green one there is slightly higher. So I'm going to put that on there. So double check. That's the top of the 1 o'clock candle. Looking left, that's the top of the nearest higher candle. That's not the one I want. That's the one. So the green trend line is a slight incline or decline on that trend line. Looking at the bottom of the 1 o'clock and looking left, the very next candle is the lowest, the nearest lower. I'll put that on there. And if I just extend these, where are they? Yeah, that's extended to 6 o'clock. So that will do. What I now need to do is drop down to, let's go down to the 1 minute chart, and we're looking at exactly the same situation. And if I put on my indicators, just make this a bit easy to read. So we're looking at almost parallel. Not this is the red trend line is very slightly got an incline on it. It's almost horizontal. The green line a little bit more incline on it, but not quite parallel. Let's go and see what we've got showing on MT5. Yeah, we've got a discrepancy here because this red trend line is starting here, and it really needs to start. It needs to look even further back, I'm guessing. But what I can do is I'll live with this trend line. It's more or less what I would have expected. I'm going to draw a trend line on here, really to reflect what it should be like. I'll change the color of that. Okay, so the two trend lines I'm going to be working on this afternoon are that one is pretty accurate, I'm guessing. This one wasn't accurate. It does need to just move that. I think that's where it needs to be. And so we'll assume that green and that red are as near as we can get it. So the trading assistant looks for 4 things to fall into line. And you notice we're now saying we're looking for a sell signal, but that's not right, because it's saying we're looking for a sell because we're below the red trend line, but that's a false red trend line. We're actually,
Richard, sorry to interrupt, Richard. I've just put mine on Euro USD on their trading view, and it is quite an incline with the 2 lines crossed. Can you just check yours again on the 15-minute on the trading view?
15 minutes.
Either I've done something wrong or you have.
Yeah, it's not yeah, trading view. And go to the 15-minute chart. Probably need to. Right, so that's my 15-minute. I'm on
your red line should be. Your red line should be.
It will cross at some later point.
But should your red line not be going through the bottom of that 1 o'clock line?
Yes, it should. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, you're right. Okay. So I'm glad you pointed that out. I'm going to have to close some tabs because I'm running out of okay, so yeah, you're right. That is the 1 o'clock. So I need to touch the bottom. I need to go through the middle of that. Actually, so very steep red, not so steep green. we'll take a fresh look. Okay, so that's more or less correct. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll stand corrected. So I'll get rid of that. I do hope that we're going to get this trend line thing resolved pretty quick. So Peter's waiting to get in, so I've met Peter. I don't know why I'm needing to do this all the time, but never mind. Welcome, Peter, if you're watching this. So basically, we are now looking for a buy. Well, it says buy, but actually price has just come down below the green trend line. So if we accept that these trend lines are more or less accurate, we're looking for a buy signal because price has gone above the green trend line. So that's the first thing that the trading assistant looks for. Is it above the green or is it below the red? Well, it's actually both, but it's prioritizing the fact that we're above the green. So we're now just looking for buys. So the next thing it looks for is the wave change. Now these bright green Heikin-Ashi candles, they changed back there. That was red, and at that point they changed. When we go back to my trading view, we should see a wave up indicator around about 1, 2, 3, 4, but round about 5 minutes to 1. And now that, depending on your settings, that might start looking for a that might confirm your that you're looking for a buy signal. My settings won't agree with that because I've set mine for it to only look back for 20 candles, and I'm guessing that's more than 20. That's 1454, and we're now at 1323. So that's definitely more than 20. If you feel that you've got a strong case to get in for a buy, then you can override that, and I'll show you how to do that. The third thing it looks for is a recent crossover, MA crossover. Now the crossover occurred there. If I put it on the candle, that was 1507, so that's 107, so that's 17 candles to go. So once again, my settings won't take that into account because I've set it to only look back for 13 candles for the MA cross. So neither of those two are confirming that we should be looking for a buy. And the fourth and final thing we look for is the water atta, and that's also not confirming I should be looking for a buy. What I need to look for a buy is this scenario where we've got the white explosion line not only above the dead zone but pointing away from the dead zone, and we need the histogram bars to be above the explosion line. So had we been actually trading at that time, the trading assistant would have got me in, but it waits until we've reached the 15-minute past 1 point. So basically the water atta, and it confirms it there, it says water signal, no trade. So we've only got one reason to get in for the buy, and that's the fact that we're above the green trend line. And if you look at what's going on with price, it's actually in consolidation. It got above the green trend line, and then it's just sort of got stuck. We need some more firm movement. Now, I don't think you've got this yet. I think this is just on the latest beta version that I got, but this panel here would allow me to override if I felt strongly that we were looking for a buy. And I could simply press the buy button, and you will have this very shortly. I'm pretty sure that Oliver has built this into the latest beta version. So you'll have this what it will do is, what it would do if I press that now, is it will get me in for a buy. But the clever thing is, it already knows what stop loss I want. It already knows what take profit I want, and it already knows how much risk I'm taking. But it already builds that in, so it's like an instant decision that gets you in instantly. Now, I wouldn't do that because obviously the fact that it's above the green trend line is the only positive reading I've got. The wave change occurred too far back, in my opinion, and the MA crossover occurred too far back, in my opinion. And also the water atta is really telling me just keep out. So I think I've covered everything on that screen. What we need to do is look at other pairs and go through the process of trying to draw some reasonable trend lines. I'll go to GBP USD. I'm just looking at what the spread is on these other two pairs. They're okay at the moment, but this 19 is 1.9 pips. It's just changed to 20. So that you see the message there, no trading because the spread is too high. So the spread is 2.1 pips. My trading system will not get me into a trade when the latest candle opened above 2 pips. So it's still saying spread too high. So it won't get me into any trades on that. That one's pretty close to 2 pips. So I'm going to look at this one because this is within my parameters. You can adjust your spread in the settings if you want to accept that it will take you into trades with a higher spread. You can do so. Personally, I don't. I'll stick at 2. So I'm just looking at GBP USD. I've got a green trend line which is horizontal, and I've got a red trend line which is roughly 45 degrees. So let's see what I've got on my trading view chart. I hope this is the last session when I have to keep going backwards and forwards. Hopefully by the time we get to next Tuesday, we'll be able to rely on what we've got here. Sharing my I'm sharing my trading view. I need to change that to GBP USD, and I need to place these trend lines accurately. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. Okay, so that's the 1 o'clock candle. That's the one I'm interested in. I'm looking at the top of the wick and I'm looking left and I can see that there's nothing. I look as far back as the start of today's session. I can see there's nothing any higher. Therefore, it does need to be a horizontal line. So the green trend line on my MT5 is accurate. I need to get that. And if I drag that down,
Almost in.
Yeah, I think we have, yeah.
Coming to us. Does he know we've lost him? Probably not.
I don't know. I was just thinking, if he logs back in, do we have to go back into the waiting room? And
Yeah,
that?
what the waiting room again? I don't know.
No, no idea. Just give him a minute to see what if he can sort it his end.
Yeah, I'll leave it and then come back in again, I suppose. But is he coming back now?
Yeah, and
You're back. We'd lost you for a minute there.
yeah, everything just went dead. So Alice is waiting to get in. Okay, so Alice can now join you. If we go back to trading view and share that screen. Okay, so you should be able to see my trading view. And I was in the process of placing these two trend lines on GBP USD. So that's the 1 o'clock. That's the top of the candle, and I was just about to try and place this this green trend line. It needs to be horizontal. So that's as near as I can get it. That's the top of the 1 o'clock. There's nothing higher to the left, so that's okay. Looking at the bottom of the 1 o'clock, and I'm still on the 15 minutes, so I need to drop that down to that very next candle. I'm just going to take these off. I need to grab this and take it to there. That is as close as I think I'm going to get it. That's the 1 o'clock. That's the bottom. It's passing not quite to the center, so I'll put it a little bit further. So we've got a horizontal green and a very steep red. So I'm going to go back to my MT5 and compare that. Okay. So actually, I should have gone back to the anyway. We've got a green horizontal. We've got quite a steep. I think that should probably come down here with so we're looking at the lowest point. So that's the lowest point on the 15-minute period, and it should really come down to here.
The red should be. I've got the red a lot lower down. They're actually in no man's land at the minute. Really, I've got it down as.
So is it? Would you be better taking it from this one or
15 minute? If you go back onto your trading view and go, if you can, you just yours to 1 minute, and then you'll see it. You'll see it. I've got this. I've got the red line below. They're in. The present is in no man's land at the minute. That's how I've got it. So
okay, yeah. As I say, I'm hoping that this is the last time I'm going to have to go through this. I'm hoping we'll get the new improved version from Oliver. So okay, so we're looking at way back here on the 1 minute. So that was more or less what I thought it ought to be. It actually it should be down the bottom of these here. But we're correct on the green one, we're not correct on the red one. I'll go back to the red one. So if I go back to 25, I'm going to draw a trend line where I think it should be. And then we'll work off that. So trend line, I think it probably should be sort of that sort of starting
Yeah.
there. And then touching the bottom of that candle there. Oh, you're right. Well, the green one's up there and the red one's down here. So yes, we're still in no man's land. I'll make that a little bit higher. So that's as close to being accurate as I can get it. So yes, we're in no man's land. So my trading assistant will totally ignore that that situation. It'll wait until we're either above the green or below the red. Something happened at that point because it spiked all the way down. So that was what time was that? That's looking like 1:30. So yeah, that makes sense. 1:30. There was some news. Well, I don't think it was red flag news, but never mind. We weren't in a trade, so we didn't get stopped out. So we wait for price to either drop below the red line, and it looks as if that's the direction it's going in. My trading assistant is working on this red line, and it's telling me that we're looking for a sell signal, and I concur. The trading assistant has just got me in a trade on a different pair. I'll finish off what I'm going to say on this one though. We're looking on GBP USD. We look as if we're going down below the red trend line. It's struggling to get past it. It's still looking for a sell signal. We're looking for a recent wave change. There was a recent wave change. It occurred there. So that is within the last 20 candles, so that counts. So that confirms I'm looking for a sell. There hasn't been a recent MA crossover. The most recent was in the wrong direction in any case, but it was way back there. So my trading assistant will not count that as qualifying. I can override it if I wish to, but I need to look at my Wada Ata first. And the Wada Ata is telling me no trade. It's looking like it might be setting up for a sell. We need a bit more strength in that histogram, and we need the next bar to be with the explosion line moving further away. But I'm not going to. I could override it if I wanted to by simply pressing that sell button, and it would override the trading assistant. And I'm not going to, because price looks like it's consolidating. So I'm going to look back at the one that we've just gone in.
Hi, Richard.
Hi.
I couldn't get on earlier, so it suddenly came to life. I've just triggered on the Euro USD. Is that what you're in?
Yeah.
That's what I'm in as well, Tony. This should trigger me into that.
I reset all this up yesterday, and I just turned it on literally before I tried to get on the Zoom, and because I haven't been working, but it's worked now. So see what happens.
Unfortunately, it's worked against us because it's taken us out. It got us in at that point, and it got us out at that point. Let me just go through and see what I can see on that chart. We're definitely below the red trend line. Therefore, we're looking for a sell, and we're also in a recent wave change. So when we got in on that candle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's only 10 or 11 red Heiken-Ashi bars. So that qualifies. So we've got two confirmations that we should be looking for. Two confirmations that we should have been looking for a sell, and the third confirmation was the fact that the MA crossed over at that point. So we have three confirmations that we should be getting in for a sell, And then if you look down at the water ATA, I'm going to put a vertical line on there so I can see exactly where it is. It got me in on that candle. No, it got me in on that candle. So the water ATA at that point, if it was looking back, if that bar just opened, it would be referencing that one, and it would have been saying short. But it immediately, as soon as that bar opened, it immediately turned in direction. I wonder if it's going to go in our direction now. That is telling me not to get in, and it told me that as soon as it got me in. It got me in, and then it told me not to get in. So that's something I can't do anything about. It's just the way price is working. But all of the indication were telling me I was good to get in for a sell. Now, I just want to wait a couple of minutes on this one because it might just go. We've got a situation where we've had a wave change. We're below the red trend line, and we've also had a MA change, MA crossover. I'm just wondering whether this is going to continue going down. What we need to happen is for these histogram bars to get above the white line and for the white line to point upwards as opposed to downwards, which it's doing now. So there's nothing to see there. Let me go back. So, right, so just take some positives out of this. The reason it got me out was it went to my stop loss. So I've actually just lost roughly, because of broker spread and slippage and so on. I was prepared to risk 0.5%, and it took me out when I got to 0.5. If I look at my toolbox, if I look at the history. So instead of taking me out at minus $500, it actually went to 566. But it saved my capital because it could well have, it might have gone even higher. But the trading assistant took me out as soon as I reached my risk limit. It slipped a little bit further than that, but that happens. I'm just going to look at my prices, because sometimes you can get a difference in price. So the price when I got in was 07932, and the price when I got out was 07966. So it went up by 3.4 pips, and then it took me out. So my stop loss on Euro USD is 3 pips. Let's double check that. So on this pair, Euro US, I've asked it to limit my loss to 0.5. There was it lost slightly more than that, and that was because the stop loss I set at 3 pips, and it actually moved to almost 3.5 pips. But that's because the delay between my computer and my broker and the broker and the market. So there was a slight delay, and it went to more than 3 pips.
And I've got that. Mine took the same trade. I've got mine set at 4 pips stop loss, and it still took. It actually just I lost $90 on a 25 demo account. So whether that's another thing to do with slippage and whatever, I don't know. But so even at 4 pips, it still took me. But on a change of direction maybe.
Okay, but you will find that sometimes, depending on brokers, you will find that a 3 pip stop loss can either, you can have slippage in either direction. And that's down to the fact that when you decide to get out of a trade, there's a few milliseconds between you instructing your computer to do that and then your broker getting that message and then your broker acting on that message. So in my case, it looks as if the slippage worked against me because it's taken more than $500. In your case, if I understood what you were saying there, it worked in your direction because it got you out slightly less than 4 pips. 3 point something pips, and the same as mine. So that broker slippage worked in your favour on that occasion, but it can work in either direction. And so,
Well, at least they all triggered, which is good,
again,
and did its job.
yes,
Mine's the same as you at 3 stop loss.
yeah. I don't worry about losing trades. What I'm more concerned on these sessions, getting used to the idea that, well, getting used to what each of the settings variables does to your trades. And we've just proved there that it wasn't a fault of the trading assistant because at the point it got in, everything was telling it to get in. So it just happened to be on a pair that immediately went in the wrong direction. There may be another opportunity coming along shortly because we've got price heading back up. If we get an MA cross, and we get we've already got a wave change, it's changed from red to green. And if we get above that green trend line there, we'll start looking for a buy. Now, one of the things that you can do in that situation is that the trading assistant is programmed not to get you in again. It's programmed to take one trade only per pair, but you can override that. You can do it in 2 ways. If you feel that this trade is now going into a buy, when you get this panel, which should be in the next few days, you should be able to just override this already traded and press the buy button. And it will get you in using all the settings that you've already placed on this particular pair. The other thing you can do until you get this panel, the instant panel, is if you go to I'll get rid of the toolbox and I'll go to navigator. So I'm on Euro USD. If I want to take another trade when conditions are right, I can go to Euro USD in this left-hand panel. I can I think I right click on that, yeah, right click, and I can remove the EA from Euro US. I'm going to do that, and it's now removed it. So there is no trading assistant working on Euro US. The other 3 are still operating, but Euro US is not. All I need to do is drag this. This is the latest version, 108-1, drag that across. I need to load up my current settings, and I've got them here. So PM, EU, 3 pip. So I'll load that back on. That's as it was. Press OK, and it's now let's move that out the way. So it's now, it's still, because we're below the red trend line, it's prioritizing the red trend line, and it's still saying I'm looking for a sell signal. So maybe it needs to get above the red line, but anyway, it will take another trade. That was the point I'm making. Whilst I've got this navigator on, you'll see that all 4 pairs have got a little blue hat. You need those to be blue for it to work. If they're still white, it means you're not connected to your trading assistant. There's another confirmation up in the top right-hand corner here. I just need to move me out of the way. Shall I move me down there? There we go. So there's a little blue hat there. So those are confirmations that your trading assistant is operating. If it's, whilst I'm on that subject, if you go to your expert list and go to properties, it's worth clicking on common, and you need to check that this is saying allow algo trading. If that's not ticked, then it won't take any trade. But you just double check it by looking here or in the top right hand corner. So I've now got 4 pairs. Click on that. And hide that. So I've now got 4 pairs in the Crossfire afternoon session. I'm just going to take a second to check, see what's going on. Nothing imminent. One of the things I look at to just check if there's anything likely to happen is if you look at the water atta, it's saying keep out. That's definitely saying keep out. That's definitely saying keep out. This one you cannot see it too well. If I knew how to save this, I wouldn't have to do this every time. But if you right click on your chart, I'll close that and I'll do that slowly. So I right click on the chart, I go to indicator list, and I can see that I've got 2 HA smooth. That's because I've just loaded a new version onto Euro USD. So I'm going to delete one of those. They're both the same. Otherwise, I would have had 2 lots of Icanashi bars. So I know they're both the same. I go to water atta, and I'm going to just change the color so I can see this. And I wish I could find out how to keep this saved. I've tried everything, but I can't.
Doesn't that properly populate when you do your template? No, obviously not.
No, the default is the blue line and a very small orange line. I prefer it to look like that.
Yeah. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
See on your charts there, you haven't got the little blue like volume bars that sit under the main chart.
Right.
And I do. And I'd love
Okay.
to get rid of them, but I don't know
Okay.
how to do it.
So what you need to do is right click on the chart.
Yeah.
You need to do it for each individual chart. But so
Yeah.
I'm right clicking on Euro USD. I'm looking below the expert list and I'm looking for tick volumes, I think. So I tick that, there you go. You've got the volumes, they're on the bottom. And if you tick it again, they'll disappear.
Okay.
What I
Yeah.
did was tick volumes.
It's not going to change my life, but I'm glad I can get rid of them.
The other thing you can do on the same note is if you look at grid, you'll get these.
Yeah, I did that off your video. I've got rid of all that. Yeah, much better.
Yeah, I like a nice clean chart. Anyway, the water atta, I can now see what this is trying to tell me. I couldn't see it before because it was very pale. It was a very dark blue line and it wasn't very thin. So I like it like this. And I can do a quick visual. I can see there's nothing about to happen because they're all, well, the white line is below the orange line. The white line's beyond. It's more or less the same height as the orange and it's below the orange. So there's nothing going to happen right now. We are looking for trades. We're in the trade zone, we're looking for a sell signal, we're looking for a sell, we're looking for a buy, and we're looking for a buy. So if I go back to my expert list, I'll do it on this one. I've got, on the afternoon session, I've actually got all of my 4 pairs are the settings are exactly the same, apart from the number of pips stop loss. I go for 3 pip stop loss on Euro US, but if I was looking at any of the other 3 pairs, I believe I'm going to be on 4. So I'll just double check that. Yeah, I'm on 4 on that pair. I'm on 4 on that pair. And I'm on 4 on that pair. So Euro USD, I'm on 3 pips. The other 3 pairs, I'm on 4 pips. And that's the only difference in the afternoon session, just the number of pips. Now, I've got, I don't know if you noticed, but I've got this magic number on all 4 afternoon pairs. I have a different magic number for the morning, so the morning pairs. So basically what I'm doing is I'm telling the trading assistant that I'm prepared to risk 0.5% of my account balance on this pair, but I want the trading assistant to group I want it to group there on the expert protections. I want it to all the pairs that have this magic number, I wanted to lump them together into one basket, and therefore my total loss, because I'm trading 4 pairs at 0.5% risk, I'm risking 2%. And I'm asking it to, and so when it reaches 2% loss, it will stop trading for that session. And I've also got a number here of 6 for the amount of profit. That's just to give it a little bit of leeway. It should really be 4, because if I'm risking 0.5%, the risk to reward is 1 to 2, so I'm standing to gain 1%, and I'm doing that 4 times, so that will be more accurately will be 4, but I'm giving it a little bit of wiggle room in case there's some slippage in my favour. But basically it's lumping all 4 of these pairs together and protecting my capital. And if you can see down here, no, I need to get on a bigger screen. So down here it says daily target 6,000, daily target loss 2,000. And if I reach 2,000 loss, it will stop me trading. You'll see a message here, and it'll say come back tomorrow. You can always reset if you just test in and you want to keep on trading. You can just reset it by going back to Navigator and taking off the EA and dragging it back on again. We seem to have gotten to some consolidation. I'm looking for other things that I can share with you. So expert lists. These are absolutely crucial. If you're asking it to use the risk percentage, the 0.5 for your lot calculation, it'll automatically calculate your lot size. And as you can see, I started off with 0.5 being equal to $500, but because I've just lost a trade, 0.5 is now equal to 496.92. So it's changed my lot size to accommodate that. Still getting me out when I get risk reward of 2%. Oh, sorry, risk reward of 1 to 2. And the other thing it's showing me is that there's further news in 1 hour. So that will be 3 o'clock my time. So I'm risking 0.5%. I want to make 1 to 2, 3 pip stop loss, 6 pip take profit. That's the magic number for these 4 pairs. I always have a maximum spread of 2, because I feel that if the spread gets any higher, if you change that to 3, you'll notice that your wins are, a lot of it is eaten away by the broker spread, and I don't really think it's worth being in a trade where the broker's taking 3 as his payment, and you're only going for 3. So you're only going for 6 take profit. I don't think that's a trade worth getting into. At the minute I'm ignoring the partial settings. I've got my new settings set on true 5, and I've got them set on high importance. We were advised last week to change that to moderate because we weren't getting the signal for the high impact news, but I noticed so far this week we've been getting the signal. In fact, there is the signal. Look, right on the very right hand panel, right hand side of my screen. That's telling me there's high impact news. So it looks as if the MT5 is recognizing high impact news again. These are crossfire properties. In the afternoon session, you need to set your look back for the nearest high or low to 900. That's going back to the start of today's session. 900 minutes takes you back to 10 p.m. UK time. And that's the start of the Asian session for the day. And I want the trading assistant to trade for 3 hours from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So I need to have that set at 180 minutes. And I need this to start at 1 o'clock. You don't need to put in a finish time on Crossfire as you do on the other trading assistants. You only need the start time. So I've got the exit. You can opt to have an exit on the change of wave, HA change, or you can leave it on none and it'll just take you out when you hit your take profit or your stop loss. This one doesn't apply to Crossfire HMA. It simply doesn't recognize the HMA, doesn't take it into account. The Heikin-Ashi settings, I've got, somebody was asking yesterday, it's definitely 13 currently. I want my trading assistant to look back for a change of wave 20 candles back. So I've changed both of those to 20. You can change it to more, you can change it to 30, 25, whatever number you want, you feel comfortable with. FPG settings I've got on false, but you also need to change those 2 numbers to 0. Otherwise, you'll get an FPG indication on your chart, but your trading assistant will completely ignore it. So it's just cluttering it with chart for no reason. HMA settings, ignore those because they don't. The Crossfire trading assistant does not look at HMA. It looks at MA crossover if you've got this set on true and true. And if you're looking for a 2 MA crossover, which I've got the 13 yellow line and the 200 white line. I look for the crossover of those 2, but I still need that 3 MA filter turn to true and the 2 MA cross signal turn to true. I look back. I asked my trading assistant to look back 12 candles for an MA crossover. That's purely because I found that works for me. You can change it. You could ask it to look back 20 candles or 30 candles if you wish. I just think that you get a safer trade if you stick to somewhere around about 12. The MA period, which is that 13 moving average, is also set to 13. The other 2, the medium and the fast, are also set to 200. They're both set to 200. So I've got a 13 moving average and I've got a 200 moving average. And apart from that, I don't think I've changed anything below there. When you get the trading panel, that's this panel here. So that's my settings for Euro US. The only difference on the other three pairs is the pip stop loss. Everything else, I've got the same magic number. All of these figures are exactly the same as they were before. And just going to see if I hover over that, well, yes, it's telling me that at 3 o'clock, there's some red flag news to do with the US dollar, and it's about new home sales. So that seems to be working correctly again. We're just not getting much price action right now. If I go to my indicator list, I've got a moving average, and if you double click on that, it'll tell you what it is. It's a 13 moving average. It's an EMA as opposed to an SMA. It's yellow, and I like it to be quite thick. The 200 is a white line, and it's the same thickness. The show pips is this, the number of pips in profit you are, that's the spread, and that's the countdown timer to the candle change. I've got mine in the upper right hand corner purely because when I had it in the left, it was obliterated by that panel. You can change these settings. I think the default is fine. It's HA smooth. If I double click on that, it's telling me the value is 13. You could change that. I know Paul uses the 31 on some of his trading assistant, and we've just looked at that one. I've never even looked at these numbers. I accept those numbers. I just changed the colours to suit myself, and that's about it. So I'm going to have a quick look at the 4 pairs, see if I can predict any movement. What I'm seeing here is it's just been a crossover of the MA. So the MA has just crossed over. We're getting close to the green trend line. If I try and, if it gets above the green trend line, I would want to know roughly how many pips there are before it hits the red trend line, because it more often than not will turn around when it gets to that red trend line. So at the minute, my trading assistant is telling me it's looking only for sells because it's prioritizing that trend line. I might want to override the trading assistant if I felt that there was enough room to profit between the green trend line and the red trend line. And I can do that using this panel. I could just click buy and it would get me in using my parameters, but I would have overridden the fact that it's only looking for a sell. Maybe we can do that before I finish this. What I'm looking at is the wave change happened back there. So my trading assistant probably won't take a trade because that I've asked it to only look back 20 candles, and that is exactly 20 candles ago. So if I leave my trading assistant to do its job, it won't get me in for a buy, but I can override it. What I need to happen is this white line to be above the orange line and pointing away from it, and I need the histogram to be above the white line. And I would check up here for it to say long as opposed to no trade. And I'll look at the other 3 pairs. I'm going to keep an eye on that because that one might make a move. Okay, so we're still looking for a sell because we're below that red trend line. If that line was continued, we're definitely below, and we don't have an MA crossover. I'll be able to see it clear if I just put the line chart on there. Can you see that that's red, that's green, that's red, that's green, that's red. It's really in consolidation. So GBP USD, I'm not tempted in either direction. I probably would want price to move downwards for the MA to cross over for the 13 MA to cross over the 200 MA, and then I'll come down here and check that. Put that back on candles, but I'm going to look at that. It's all consolidation, up and down, up and down. There's nothing really happening there. They're probably waiting for this news, and then they'll probably do some price manipulation. So this news, when we get to 5 minutes, the news is coming at 3 o'clock. So at 5 to 3, my trading assistant will not get me into a new trade. If I'm already in a trade, it will keep me in, but it won't get into a new trade until 5 minutes pass. Look at the other pairs. Yeah, slight upward movement there, but the water atta is definitely telling me to keep out. The latest wave change was back here. It looks as if price might be coming back down again, so we might have a fresh wave change. This is the main thing that's keeping me out. If this 13 moving average started to point down, there's a chance that you might be able to override your trading assistant and get into a sell, because price is likely to come down and either bounce off that green trend line or bounce off that white moving average. So that is a point of interest. But if I was considering overriding my trading assistant, I might get in for a sell between those 2 points. But I wouldn't until the water atta improved drastically. And I'll look at the last pair now. I'm going to call it a day. So this one is it's saying I'm looking for, it's telling me it's looking for a buy signal, and that's because we've got above the green trend line, and you can see there's a huge gap between the green and the red trend line. If you condense it down, it's almost out of sight. So if it does get above or if it stays above the green trend line, I've got to consider what's the water atta telling me, and that's telling me it's more likely to go for a sell than a buy, but even telling me to keep out of a sell. I would want a strong push upwards to tempt me in for a buy. The latest MA crossover is way back, so I would have to override my trading assistant. It hasn't crossed over. Still haven't, no, nearly crossed over. No, there's no MA crossover, so I would have to consider overriding. But look, it's just consolidation. It's sideways movement. The 200 moving average is pointing upwards, and that's the only good thing I can say about that. I wouldn't get in for any of those right now.
That big news spike that's just done all the stops, and it's not huge, but it's, you know, generally we take it that there's, you know, less likely it's going to go back down yet because it's done what it's done. But hasn't moved a lot, but it hasn't really done a lot, has it? Really, it's been quite moving.
Well, you know what these big boys are like. They like to fool us into taking trades. What you can be sure of this afternoon is that at 3 o'clock, because that's the only red flag news, there's going to be some price movement.
Yeah.
And whether they'll take it up or take it down is only for them to know. I wouldn't particularly want to be in a trade when we got any other than round here. I'm undecided whether I'm favouring a buy or a sell purely because it's just been up and down, up and down, up and down. The big boys are literally just sitting on the hands waiting for that 3 o'clock news to disguise whatever they're going to do. They could take it up and take out stop losses. They could take it down and take out stop losses. If they take it down, it'll probably bounce off that 200. But you know, look at the water ATA. There's just not enough volume in the market, and that's because they're sitting on the hands, waiting for the news. So that one's there's no interest. That one's the same, no interest. That one's looking slightly more interesting, but that one we need the white line to be above the orange, and even that's just going flat. So I'm thinking we've got to wait until after the 3 o'clock news, and then just try and well, basically just let the trading assistant do its job. Okay, well, it's now 17 minutes past 2. I don't think there's anything going to happen until 3 o'clock. So on that note, I should be back on Tuesday, and hopefully Oliver will have sent me the new well, it's this one the current one expires on the 1st of November, so that's this time next week, isn't it? I'm hoping to get a new one before then. So thanks for jumping on, and I shall.
Cheers, Richard. Thanks for that.
I shall see you next
Thanks,
week.
Richard. Cheers.
Have a good weekend.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers now.